whoa, pump the brakes. What's all this I hear about Nice Motorsports going cup racing with Carson Hocevar? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Every year, it seems around this same time, there are at least a couple of drivers in the Xfinity or the Truck Series, young guns, impressing in the lower ranks, emerging as potential contenders for Cup Series rides. Without fail, this year is no exception. Ty Gibbs' name always comes up, especially with some uncertainty over at Joe Gibbs Racing. Noah Gregson's been grinding in the Xfinity Series the last few years. Maybe he's due. Zane Smith briefly had a Cup Series contract until things blew up. Well, yesterday, a new name officially entered this conversation. Talking to Davey Siegel on his podcast, Victory Lane with Davey Siegel, Cody Efaw, GM of Nice Motorsports in the Truck Series, said the team is looking at going Cup Series racing as early as next year. And he didn't stop there. He said specifically that he'd like to see Carson Hocevar make some NASCAR Cup Series starts. Talking to Davey Siegel, he said, quote, "Definitely, we're talking about the Cup side. We are. Those conversations are being had. It's the best time to get in. Maybe there's going to be some more vehicles available coming up, the inventory, there's been shortages and stuff. You're going to be behind the 8 ball. There's been a lot learned week in and week out, but I would like to get Carson in some races next year in Cup, and I think he's able to do it. He's capable of doing it. We just have to get the right stuff for him and do it. I think we have some partners who are supportive of it. It may not happen either, but I would do it. That's where I see us." Now, he did have some discouraging words for the NASCAR Xfinity Series we'll react to in a moment, but first and foremost, let's talk about Carson Hocevar. Is he NASCAR Cup Series ready? I'm a big Carson Hocevar fan, but he has not yet won a race in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. He's in a solid points position. He's going to make the playoffs this year, it appears. And he has led over 200 laps this year, but whether it's been heartbreak, like Gateway this past weekend blowing an engine while leading, or driver error, like I'd argue Charlotte was, although Charlotte had some bad luck mixed in as well, Carson Hocevar has suffered heartbreak after heartbreak this season and is still winless in his NASCAR National Series career. He has turned heads recently, running up front, leading laps, won the pole at Sonoma on a broken leg. People are taking notice of Carson Hocevar, as they absolutely should. I've said this before, but the first time I heard of Carson Hocevar was a few years ago at Eldora when he was driving Jordan Anderson's truck at like 16 years old. He's 19 now, he'll be 20 by the time next season starts. Is he Cup Series ready? That's the question. No, he's not. I'm a big Carson Hocevar fan. I think he will be a Cup Series driver one day. I think he has the potential to win at the top level of NASCAR one day. But this is like a Harrison Burton situation, and we'll talk about Harrison in a second. Harrison Burton won a few Xfinity races a couple years ago for Joe Gibbs Racing, moved up to the Cup Series this year at 20, 21 years old, and has struggled in Wood Brothers equipment. He's 28th in points. I don't think he has a single top 10 this season. He struggled. Carson Hocevar would be in the exact same boat, I believe, if he ran any number of Cup Series races next year. Assuming Nice goes to Cup, and yeah, it's a spec car, they'll have the exact same parts and pieces as Joe Gibbs Racing or Hendrick. But the people, of course, will largely be new to Cup Series racing. They won't have the same amount of research and information that teams that have already been racing this year have. So I don't think he'd be in a great car, and he's an inexperienced driver. He'd run 30th or 25th or worse probably every race he runs next year, which, get the guy some experience. I'm not opposed to that. A few races here and there is probably okay, and the next gen drives, from what we've been told, very differently than the trucks or Xfinity cars. Hocevar is a guy who will one day be a Cup Series driver. It makes sense to at least get him some seat time, get him somewhat familiar with these very different vehicles. I'm not opposed to Hocevar making a few Cup starts next year, but I don't like what Cody Efaw said about skipping the Xfinity Series, because I'd like to see Hocevar in an Xfinity car first if we could. Like another recent example, Todd Gilliland never made an Xfinity start in his career. He's in the Cup Series this year as a rookie in a front row car, to be fair, but he's also struggling. Not competitive whatsoever, 29th in points. But we'll get to Cody Efaw's Xfinity Series comments in just a moment. Let's talk about Nice Motorsports for a second. Nice coming to the Cup Series, another potential new team, maybe not looking for a charter right away. It sounds like they're okay with the possibility of going part-time. Carson Hocevar replied to the Davey Siegel clip with, "Who said anything about full-time?" So that tells me he and the team are looking at maybe a part-time ride at first. But in the same breath, Efaw says, now is the time to get in. That doesn't sound like someone who just wants to dabble with a few Cup Series starts. No, that sounds like someone who eventually, sooner rather than later, would like to acquire a charter, would like to be a full-time Cup team running for points. And I think that's overall good news for the sport. Now, that means the price of charters probably isn't going down anytime soon. We know Dale Jr. is still exploring charters. Now, Nice Motorsports has made it known they're at least sniffing around. The demand for charters is still there. We thought after last year with 2311 getting their second charter, Kaulig getting charters, Trackhouse buying up Ganassi, we thought maybe the charter market would quiet down, at least in the short term. That does not seem to be the case. It'd be great to see another team in the Cup Series. Al Nice, that whole group over there, have turned into true Truck Series contenders in recent years. Like 5-6 years ago, nobody was talking about Nice. And then Ross Chastain comes over, they start winning races. They had a down year or two there, but now this year with Hocevar, they look competitive again. Nice built their Truck Series program up over the last few years. I'd be thrilled to see them move to the Cup Series and see if they can recreate that development there. They don't strike me as a Live Fast or Aspire where for the time being, they're content just riding around in 30th. No, they seem like a team who will probably struggle out the gates, but they have aspirations of contending for playoff spots in the near future. They remind me more of like a Kaulig than anything else. So I'd love to see Nice in the Cup Series in the near future. Hocevar full-time next year, I don't think he's ready, but part-time, sure, get him some seat time. I'd like to see Hocevar maybe take a stab at the Xfinity Series first, but it doesn't sound like that's gonna happen. Let's go back to that Davey Siegel interview with Cody Efaw, the GM again of Nice Motorsports. He had some fairly critical things to say about the Xfinity Series, calling it watered down, among other things. He said, quote, "I don't see the thickness of the Xfinity Series. I don't mean to take away from anyone doing it by any means. It's hard stuff. I've done it. If I'm going to run that many weekends, I want a Cup race. That series, I feel, is very watered down. I just don't see maybe a handful of teams being able to win, and I feel like in trucks, there's a stout list that can win every week, and it's hard." Couple things there. First, I totally get wanting to go Cup racing instead of Xfinity. If you're going to run over 30 races a year, you'd rather go Cup racing. There's more money, there's more prestige. I get that, but I don't think you need to tear down the Xfinity Series in quite the way Cody Efaw is right there. You don't need to do that to make your point, because the Xfinity Series is its own beast. It's almost like a relic of a bygone era, if you will, compared to the Trucks and Cup Series. In the Xfinity Series, everything is still built and put together by the teams, from the motors to the chassis. It's old school in a way, and comparing it to the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series has a lot of Cup teams fielding cars. JGR, SHR, JRM, practically Hendrick level equipment. There are independent guys out there, sure, like the Jeremy Clements, Brandon Brown, but even some of those teams like Jordan Anderson Racing or Big Machine Racing, they get some help from RCR. RCR is in the Xfinity Series as well. Actually, Tommy Joe Martins, who does field a couple Xfinity Series cars and is one of the more independent team owners in that garage, he tweeted out the same point I'm making. Trucks have a spec engine / no Cup teams. There are 13 Cup level teams in Xfinity, 11 more with technical alliances, 22 of the top 24 in owner points. And then he highlights a few of the more independent teams who've had good runs this year to suggest that the Xfinity Series is fairly competitive and isn't watered down or not thick, as Cody Efaw suggests. Look, to be fair, I think both have a point. I don't believe in tearing down the Xfinity Series to make your point about the Cup or the Truck Series, but it is hard to compete against all those Cup level teams in Xfinity if you're a smaller independent team, kind of like the way Nice Motorsports would probably operate. So I understand Nice wanting to jump straight to Cup, but I don't fully agree when they say the Xfinity Series is watered down or isn't super competitive. No, there are a lot of really good cars. It is difficult to break through and succeed in the Xfinity Series, which is why when a team like Jeremy Clements makes the playoffs last year, it's really, really cool. It's a great story. One point I will give to Cody Efaw, though, is that while there are a lot of competitive cars and some good equipment in the Xfinity Series, the caliber of driver perhaps isn't what it once was. Obviously 10, 15 years ago, half the Xfinity field were Cup drivers. One good thing about the bushwhacking era is that when a young up-and-coming driver beat all those Cup guys in an Xfinity race, you knew for sure they could drive. You knew they had NASCAR Cup Series potential. Now, when a young guy goes and wins a couple Xfinity races in top-level equipment, I don't think that means they're Cup Series ready, necessarily. And Cody Efaw, in this interview again with Davey Siegel, takes a not-so-subtle shot, I guess you could call it a shot, at Harrison Burton in this respect. And while I don't agree with always calling out young drivers like this, he does have a point. He said, "I don't mean to single someone out, but I watched someone at Sonoma that has Xfinity Series wins, has no Truck Series wins, he's in a Cup car, ran a truck this past weekend, and I didn't even know he was in the race. It just says a lot about where the Xfinity Series is at the moment. I don't see the value in it, so no on the Xfinity side." Safe to say he's talking about Harrison Burton, who has 4 Xfinity wins with Joe Gibbs Racing, but never won a race in KBM truck equipment. He's in the Cup Series now, and he did run, I think he's talking about Sonoma a week earlier, and he did run the truck race there, finished 12th. I think Harrison Burton still has Cup Series potential one day, but he's in the Cup Series right now and obviously is in over his head. As I've said all along, Harrison Burton is a long-term project. And this is why, going back to Carson Hocevar, not that this is Nice's plan, but if they put him in the Cup Series full-time next year, he too will be in over his head. He will be a long-term project. And maybe that's a good way to develop a driver, throw him to the wolves, have him learn against the best competition, but that could also hurt a young driver's confidence. And you need drivers to be confident, to be good. So Ifah's point about the Xfinity Series, I do think has some merit. I don't have to like the way he said it to admit that it's at least somewhat accurate. I still like my drivers to have some Xfinity Series experience before they go Cup racing, even on a part-time basis. I understand that nature of the business, that's not always possible, like with Todd Gilliland this past year. But I can also admit that the Xfinity Series maybe isn't always the best judge of talent. Like, I think Ty Gibbs is great. I think Ty Gibbs is going to be a Cup Series driver one day and will likely win a lot of races. His Xfinity career is off to a hot start. If you look at the stat sheet, multiple wins his first part-time season, multiple wins already this year. But you have to take a step back and acknowledge he's in probably the best car almost every single week, and he's only going up against 10 or 12 legit race win contenders on a regular basis. It's hard to grade talent in the Xfinity Series today, but I could also say the same about trucks. I know they're supposed to be tough, but boy, there's a lot of beating and banging going on in some of those races. Anyway, share your thoughts down below. It's exciting to know that a top team in the Truck Series is looking at going Cup Series racing. I hope they don't abandon their Truck Series program. That's been a great boost to that entire series. But it is still cool to see potentially new competitive cars moving to the Cup Series in the near future. Carson Hocevar, a young driver who's turned a lot of heads lately, might be getting a look before too long. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We talk NASCAR news, rumors, predictions, and much more every single day here on this channel. And as always, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate your very generous support each and every month. We'll be back again soon. More to talk about before Nashville this weekend. The second half, of the season is about to begin. The NBC portion is about to begin. Very exciting stuff. Can't wait to see you all out at the racetrack this coming Sunday. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you in the next video.